I wasn't going to make a show about this. Welcome to the Rob Lett Show. I'm your host, Rob Lett. We call these segments Soapbox News. They're current events I felt compelled to get on my soapbox about, but it's also your chance to get on your soapbox in our comments section. Well, I'm broadcasting from California today, which is the perfect place to talk about today's topic, the Will and Chris debacle. That's the focus of today's Soapbox News. Not a lot to unpack here today. I just want to add my 2 cents to what everyone else has been talking about, the slap heard around the world. Today we're going to discuss why I originally wasn't going to do this show in the first place. We'll talk about a couple of theories that I heard on this topic. One of them I call the staged theory, and the other one I call the defending my woman theory. We'll talk about what's happening with Will. We'll talk about why the Oscars should be ashamed of themselves, Will's sorry apology, and finally, what about Chris? But before we get started, I'd like you to go ahead and do a few things. First of all, like this video, subscribe to it. If you're on YouTube, to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a bell. That's a notifications bell. Click it and it'll notify you the next time we release a new show. If you're on Rumble, though, to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a share button. Click it and it'll share this video with a friend of yours who should have been here today. Go ahead and do all of those things that apply right now. I originally wasn't going to do this show. Even though Soapbox News is about current events, you may have noticed some events I don't discuss. Sometimes I don't discuss a topic because I got busy and too much time has passed, so it doesn't make sense for me to bring it up now. And then there are times like this one where I wasn't really busy. I just saw so many people giving so many opinions that honestly, I didn't think that I had anything really unique to say. So I decided to keep working on another show. But the longer this debacle went on and the more opinions I listened to, the more I realized just how interesting this topic really is. On the surface, it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with politics, but it actually has quite a few interesting topics all in one story. So I decided to add my own 2 cents. I guess the first thing I need to do is address some of the theories I've heard out there before I get into my own. The first theory that I heard is that this entire slap thing was fake. I heard people say it was orchestrated by the Oscars in order to boost their poor ratings. Let's analyze that one for a minute. Can I take you back to that time Will and Jada boycotted the Oscars? Remember that time? The hashtag was Oscars so white, and the complaint was that the Oscars had no diversity. The argument was that nearly all of the nominees were white, and there was a big move asking for all of the black actors to stay home and boycott the Oscars. Most of them did. Coincidentally, one person was caught in the crossfire because coincidentally that same year, he was due to host the Oscars. Care to guess who that person was? You guessed it, Chris Rock. Hold that thought, though. I'm not even addressing that part yet. I'm still on this concept that the Oscars came up with this plan to boost their ratings. For those of you who believe this theory, type in the comments section what that sales pitch sounded like for me. Because I'm curious on how the Oscars, accused of being white, sold 2 black men on the idea of slapping one another on national television in order to boost their ratings. Tell me how that conversation went. Please don't leave out the part that Will and Jada were actually leading this Oscar so white protest back then. So how silly would it be for the Oscars to approach Will and Chris not knowing what their answer would be? I doubt it. That's just dumb and risky at the same time. The other theory floating around out there is that Will was somehow justified in slapping Chris because Chris was making fun of Jada's medical condition. I heard Tiffany Haddish say that Will was defending his wife's honor, and that's commendable. Let's start with the assumption that Chris knew about Jada's medical condition. How do you know he was aware? I heard he wasn't aware. The only way I even knew is because my wife told me that both Jada and Viola Davis have alopecia. You may have just learned that Viola Davis has it too. So if it weren't for that, I'd have thought Chris was just making a joke about a low haircut, which is what most Americans thought. So Chris was right. Provided that he didn't know about her alopecia in advance, a joke about your haircut is a mild one. So the justification part is weak because it relies heavily on the assumption that Chris knew about her alopecia in advance just in order to make Will look good. Let's address the second part. The second part of this theory turns Will into a hero because he slapped Chris defending Jada's honor. Really? Let's go back a minute. Earlier, these same people said that Chris was insensitive for making a joke about Jada's alopecia. But as we said, we don't have any proof that Chris knew about Jada's alopecia. But I'll tell you who did know about Jada's alopecia. Will did, and he laughed at the joke. So do the same insensitive rules apply to Will now? He found it funny. Is he insensitive for having laughed at his wife's alopecia? Make up your mind. And if his initial reaction was to laugh at it and only change course upon seeing her reaction, do you still give Will credit for caring for his wife? Or was it more like he was expected to do something? which changes things entirely. I'm not even going to get into the fact that we all know if it were 50 Cent up there, he would not have slapped 50 Cent. Will made a split-second decision that he could probably slap Chris and get away with it. So is it still honorable to defend your wife only under certain conditions? I'm asking, because if she wasn't there, Will would have laughed it off and the show would have gone on without a hitch. These are questions I just ask myself when I hear all these narratives out there. Now, I'm not a psychologist, so what I say doesn't mean much. All I'm good at are observations. And my observations tell me Will Smith has been dealing with this issue of toughness for his entire career. I choose my words carefully. Notice I didn't say he was struggling with it. I just said he's been dealing with it, like it's something that's constantly come up in his career, that he wasn't street enough or that he was somehow soft.
We all know that Will started his career in rap, and he was the rap artist that wouldn't curse, and he was the rap artist that it was all about comedy and fun, and he was considered the corny dude.
A lot of rappers have referred to Will Smith's style of rap as Disney rap or bubblegum rap. As I said earlier, I'm not saying that being called soft all the time is something that was stressful to him. All I'm saying is it's something that came up enough that he felt the need to address it in his own music.
I read in rap pages, they referred to me as soft. Yeah, more like micro soft.
Fast forward to Will meeting Jada. Do you remember Jada from her early days on A Different World? If you remember Jada's character from A Different World, she played an almost tomboyish character who had a little bit of street sense about her. In other words, she played a tough woman. Now, normally the character that you play in a television show or a movie is irrelevant because it's just a character. But in this case, the character she played happens to be a lot closer to Jada's real-life personality. You may or may not know this, but Jada used to be a drug dealer. No, not in the movies. And no, I didn't make this up. She said so herself.
One of the things that's very interesting that I've never really said before is that when I first met Pac, when we first met, I was a drug dealer. And yes.
I'm only bringing this up because the rapper who feels like he's one of the softest in the industry is about to fall in love with a woman who's apparently tougher than he is. And Jada isn't naive about Will's soft reputation. In fact, she's well aware of it. One of her closest friends was Tupac Shakur. Even to this day, if you listen to Jada talk, you get the sense that her relationship with Tupac was a lot closer than Will might have been comfortable with.
And I've been having kind of an existential crisis around Pac because I was coming out, he was going in. And, there was a point in which we met. And then we kind of were going our separate ways. And I just felt like, okay, God, one day you're going to do for Pac what you did for me. Which is you saved me. And that just never happened for him. And so that is something that I'm constantly having to confront.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that missing component that neither one of us have ever discussed, because Pac and our relationship was about survival.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And I know that most people want to always connected in this romance thing, and that's just because they don't have the story. But it was based in survival, how we held each other down.
After they got married, as you already know, rumors were swirling that the couple had an open relationship. In the beginning, there were just quiet mumbles about it, but after a while, those mumbles started to get so loud that both Will and Jada had to start addressing these allegations in their own interviews.
How long were you all actually separated? We never understood. How long? Was it months or years?
It's really funny. We never actually officially separated. Right? What happened was we realized that it was a fantasy illusion that we could make each other happy. And we agreed that she had to make herself happy and I had to make myself happy. And then we were going to present ourselves back to the relationship already happy versus demanding that the other person fill our empty cup. And
That should be the prerequisite for anybody actually getting married.
After A Different World, you'd see Jada here or there in a movie or something, but not very often. She decided to start her own online show called Red Table Talk, which has slowly become the undoing of her entire family. On one of the episodes, Jada reveals that she cheated on Will. What's worse is she chose to air it, get his response, and then go as far as to say she didn't even feel like she cheated. Ouch. Now, this video just came out recently. I assume the video was leaked by Jada herself since she's the one who's filming it.
Will, you know Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the red table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me
Oh, my goodness.
if you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just...
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch Esther at the red table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you tell?
It gives you an idea what Will is dealing with in his own household. Definitely leave a comment about this in the comment section. You may wonder why I'm rehashing all of this history. I'm rehashing all of this history because things don't happen in a vacuum. People react to things because of a culmination of past experiences. So let's recap. At this point, Will's a former rapper who's always had to deal with the allegation that he's somehow soft. To aggravate that allegation, he's married to a woman who some people consider to be tougher than him, and now he's in an open relationship because apparently Jada is wearing the pants in the family. In some form or fashion, Will has had to deal with the fact that he's not tough enough or man enough his entire career. Now, enter the Oscars. To a degree, some of this stuff has got to be swirling around in Will's head when Chris makes this joke about Jada's haircut. So when you put all of this in context of everything I just described, it kind of gives you an idea of the mental state Will's in. He's dealt with this stuff most of his career. And now, on the night that should be the high point of his life, Chris makes a joke about his wife, and she's visibly bothered by it. He's pondering what to do, and you know the rest. The Oscars should be ashamed because they not only allowed Will Smith to stay on the premises after slapping the host of the show, but they allowed him to go straight to an after party with the very award. I can't think of a more irresponsible precedent to set. If I was running the Oscars, I would have interrupted Will like Kanye West. Will would have been accepting his award, and I would have been like, hey bro, I'm gonna let you finish, but I'm gonna need that award back before you leave, bro. I'm playing. He would have never received that award in the first place. Because of Will, the Academy is now gonna have to put in place some backup winners for this kind of crap, because apparently they didn't know what to do in this case. One thing I got tired of hearing is that Will Smith apologized. Even before he made the post to Instagram, people were saying Will Smith apologized in his speech. Quit playing with me. Will Smith apologized to the Academy. Will Smith apologized to his fellow nominees. With all due respect, you didn't slap the Academy and you didn't slap your fellow nominees. You slapped Chris Rock. Apologize to Chris, Will. That's what everyone was waiting for, and you failed again. This is the reason I don't even give his written apology any credence, because it came a day later after his after party. If I were to take a guess, I'd say Will realized he may potentially be in some deep trouble, so he chose his words very carefully when accepting that award. Probably waited until he got home and crafted something with his attorney. So I don't view that Instagram apology as something that came from the heart. I view that as something that probably came from a law office. But perhaps the most annoying aspect of all of this is the blatant way that everybody disregarded Chris and cuddled Will like he was the victim. All these Hollywood types who accept awards and give these long speeches about peace in the world all look like total hypocrites as they give Will a standing ovation. This is why Oscars ratings are down in the first place, because the American people look at Hollywood as a bunch of hypocrites. As soon as I saw Will slap Chris, I immediately thought of Jay-Z's song, The Streets Is Watching. There's a line in that song that says, once you're tagged lame, the game is follow the leader. I'm not saying that Chris is lame. I'm saying the perception that Will just put in the public's mind is it's okay to slap Chris when he says something you don't like. Will had better be praying harder than he's ever prayed that Chris doesn't want to sue him, because that video went worldwide. I can't imagine what kind of damages would be awarded to Chris for something like this. Remember, Chris is more comedian than he is actor, so the pressure pressure to sue from his fellow comedians is very great. Comedians recognize that if Chris doesn't sue, he may have just given everyone a license to slap comedians all across the country. And if you think this kind of thing doesn't happen, you'd be wrong. In fact, since this very debacle, T.I. himself walked up on stage of comedian Lauren Knight right in Georgia.
Get it up for him. There is no charge.
I don't want to hear that. Don't play with me about that.
I haven't. What is that?
Hey. Don't play with me about that.
I'm not. The one thing I am is a comedian. I'm not playing with you. See, now you're getting misunderstood. This is not a rap battle. This is not that. This is a comedy show. And be clear, if I want to make jokes about something, I'll make jokes about something. Absolutely. No, you're not going to tell me to shut the up. It's my shit. This is my shit. Be very clear. This is my
You can look it up yourself because I don't have time to get into all that mess, but technically, T.I. owes that girl $1 million. You guys are going to get enough of saying and doing ridiculous stuff all because of some jokes. I'm glad I waited a little bit before filming this show. I waited long enough to see Will resign from the Academy. Unfortunately, I don't think this is anything that came from the heart. Unfortunately, I think this was Will's way of getting out in front of what was eventually to come. And it turns out I was right. I just found out today that the Academy banned Will Smith for 10 years. And it turns out that Netflix put a hold on one of Will Smith's movies. Well, we'll never get it all, but we sure uncovered a lot. In this episode, we discussed why I originally wasn't going to do a show on this topic. You're probably wondering why I covered this show, because it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with politics, but it does. It's got the me versus we element in it. If you've ever heard me speak before, you know I talk about this regularly, that in the black community, there's this tendency that we're supposed to adhere to the community and forget about what you want as an individual. And so the very first thing that kicked all of this off was the fact that Chris had the audacity to show up to the Oscars when all of the blacks were supposed to be banning it. That was the very first time that Chris made a joke about Jada. Then there's that other me versus we, because Chris also belongs to the comedian community. So all of them are telling Chris what he needs to do for the community. Otherwise, it's going to be open season on all comedians. There's the mental health aspect of this story. The more society becomes confused over what an actual man and woman is, the more we seek to redefine what the relationships are between each other. And the more you're going to start seeing more people have mental breakdowns because of this stress. If you don't think this story has anything to do with mental health, you've totally missed the boat. This story contained the death of free speech. We've seen the left try to cancel free speech in so many different ways. Remember that transgender walkout at Netflix over Dave Chappelle's stand-up? The reason you don't see much sympathy for Chris is because in the left's mind, force is the appropriate response for speech that you don't like, whether it's to devastate you financially or to physically put their hands on you. We talked about the two theories out there. We talked about the theory that all of this was staged, and we talked about the belief that somehow Will was standing up for his woman. We shot down both of these theories. We shot down the stage theory because if you're going to stage something, there has to be somebody who benefits. Do you know of anyone who wasn't going to watch the Oscars and now they watched the whole thing because Will slapped Chris? Me either. I still haven't seen the Oscars, so the idea that Will slapping Chris made you want to know who won Best Picture is laughable. We shot down the idea that Will was defending his wife because the man who is truly defending his wife will whip your butt whether she's around or not. Remember, Will laughed until he remembered that his wife was there, and she didn't look happy. So he wasn't defending his wife, he was defending his own manhood. We talked about why the Oscars should be ashamed. We talked about the hypocrisy of Hollywood to stand for so many causes against violence, then turn on a dime the minute one of their friends slaps somebody on national television. We talked about Will Smith's sorry apology, which was no real apology at all. Jada laughed after Chris got slapped. Will never actually apologized that evening. And Jaden's Twitter response gave you almost everything you needed to know about the conversations in the Smith household. Nobody was sorry. They thought Chris got what he deserved. What do you think Will deserves? Let me know in the comments section. Finally, we talked about Chris. What about Chris? Why isn't the media discussing more about the mental toughness that it takes for something like this to happen to you and to still be able to go on with the show? Why aren't more people acknowledging the amount of restraint that Chris had to show as a comedian? Because as a comedian, I'm sure he had enough jokes to be able to rip Will's family to shreds if he wanted to. Do you think Chris should sue Will? Let me know in the comments section. Finally, I want to be clear. I like Will. This should go without saying because if you've watched my show from the beginning, you know that there's a photo of Will at the end of every one of my videos. Despite his personal lifestyle, I considered him to be a positive voice in general. His journey from here is going to be very interesting. And that's where I'll leave it for now. If you're new around here, our channel is both a combination of podcasts for long-form understanding of conservative principles and soapbox news. Videos where you get on your soapbox about the latest news of the day. Be sure you like, subscribe, and share your videos with someone who should have been here with us today. We'll see you next time. Hey, it's Rob. You already know that the days of you and I being able to freely interact like this are slowly coming to an end. You've got two choices. You can either be reactive to all of the censorship and try to determine where all the conservatives have gone, or you can go to roblett.com. I don't know about you, but I've never been one to sit back and wait on anyone to come and rescue me. Sure, there may be some social media company that gets invented that's better than the ones we have right now, but guess what? For thousands of years, adults have never had to rely on a platform in order for us to speak to each other. So we don't need that today. All I need is a direct line of communication to you. Go to roblett.com, and I'll see you on the other side.